this meeting. So if you don't want to be part of the permanent records, but we want this meeting recorded so that we can not only experience it ourselves, but I know what's happening here is going to be seen by hundreds of others. We're going to release it to you guys sometime later in the week. And so you can be on the lookout for that. And what I want to do now is introduce you to the person that is paramount to bringing us together here. I have the privilege of working on this organization with the Action Alliance and under Rita Thrasher, who, if you get our action alert, you'll see the County of Palm Beach just had a wonderful proclamation of lifetime services presented by Commissioner Maria Sachs to Rita, our Rita. And then the school district out of the blue comes and hits right there in the cheek with a big kiss of lifetime achievement from the Palm Beach County School District. This girl of ours that is already on the Star Walk of Fame in Boca Raton. You can see her star on the ground. She's here with us, and she's a bright light in a dark place, and she's a connector, and she's my friend. So let's turn things over for now to Miss Rita Thrasher. And that's okay, Rita, but you are muted. I know you're going to unmute successfully.
What? Now I have done it. A+ for Rita. Thank you, Ed, for a wonderful introduction. But I wanted to let you know that you were one of my longest and dearest friends, along with Gerda Klein. Rita could not have moved anywhere in the last 10 years without the help of both of you. And I say that because I have the privilege of working with you in 2 organizations. Boca Raton's Promise started in 2000, and I also was founder of, along with Seth Bernstein, with the Palm Beach County Action Alliance. So I welcome those of you who are affiliated with both of those organizations, and for our partners throughout the county. And I am so anxious to see the smiling faces of people that I haven't seen for many years. One of those persons is Abby Strauss. Abby Strauss has been a member of our board of directors for more than 10 years. Abby, I'm going to let you do the privilege of introducing yourself, because you are a good friend and you do it much better than I do.
Unmute.
Abby,
Okay, can you hear me now, as they say? Are you hearing me?
Good to go, Abby. Thank you.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. And yes, I have known Rita for many, many years, and I've been very impressed with this organization. I am a psychiatrist. I am in private practice. I also have a master's degree in psychiatric social work from a long time ago, but the combination of the 2 trainings and the 2, so we say, domains have been extremely helpful for me. I've been very much an advocate of advocacies, and I think what Rita has done is, with everyone connected to her, has been stellar, as we'll talk about. Personally, I've lived in Florida since 1985. I came here from New York City, where I did my residency, and I have over the years worked and served and had the honor of being on a lot of mental health advocacy groups and social issue advocacy groups. I am former sounds old, doesn't it? We'll just say former president of the Florida Psychiatric Society, Palm Beach County Psychiatric Society, and I had the real honor, not that the others weren't as much, but a different honor of sitting on the national board of directors for an organization called Physicians for Social Responsibility. I joined them the year after they won the Nobel Peace Prize for their concerns about nuclear war. They have since worked in areas of environmental issues and gun control. For a while that stopped. So my opportunity to be exposed to a lot of people who have the same caliber as Boca Promise has been, I've been very lucky. So now I want to talk about what's going on in Palm Beach County, and I turn it back to you, Ed, and we'll go where we have to go.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Abby. Let's bring things back to Rita. And Rita, are you ready to move us forward?
Yes, and I want to do it with my daughter. My daughter is sitting here beside me. She's matching me in colors of blue, which is my favorite color. And her name is Marla Kosick. Marla's been a friend of mine for about 60 years plus, and she is been right there beside me, encouraging me and supporting my projects. Marla, do you have a few words to say? Because I know Abby's a good friend.
Oh, Abby, it's so nice to see you. Ed, nice to see you. And I wish that this small summit via Zoom yields very good results for all of the participants, but especially you, Abby. I think it's just been too long since I've seen you. So
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm most
Yeah.
grateful to you. And it is very glad to see you signed on. And thank you, Mother.
Back to you. The agenda, Abby, it's yours.
Well, and as I managed to, this is so embarrassing, but the agendas, as I went from one computer to the next, did not follow me. So why shouldn't there be a technical blip while you were talking? One of the things that I'll do it this way. One of the things that I have seen in Palm Beach County, and this will segue to our guest, is that I came down here when there were very few inpatient psychiatric facilities. I came down here when Fair Oaks was just opening. There was South County, there was Bethesda Hospital in Boynton Beach, 45th Street in West Palm, and sometimes I think the hospitals had it. We've also, other hospitals up north, we were never able to get a psychiatric unit in Boca Raton, my opinion, for political reasons, but nonetheless, it did not occur. Now we're seeing a new facility, and what I'm hoping we can do is talk about our needs, talk about our expectations for this new hospital group. I have had the advantage of having one patient being treated by them. They did very well. And I'm very pleased to see that. And I'm just will do everything I can to make sure that that does not get lost as the facility develops more and more. So given my blindness, since I don't have that in front of me, it's so embarrassing, but it is what it is. Ed, Rita, just give me a point, and shall we bring him on to tell us about his group right now? I'm sorry if I'm going out of sequence.
Yes, that would be perfect, Abby. Let's introduce Derek and let him give us the overview, and that'll get started our thinking, and then we'll when he's through, we'll jump into our Q&A.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. Can you hear me? Thumbs up.
We've got
Okay. I really do appreciate your time in learning a little bit more about our organization, and what a great group of folks to be able to share this information with. So kudos to everyone involved. Gerda, thank you for helping to get this scheduled and on the books for all of these folks. So I do appreciate all of your time in listening today. But let's make this a dialogue. As Ed mentioned, I'll go through this. I should be able to kind of get through the major talking points within under 30 minutes or so, and which will leave us plenty of time to kind of get into Q&A and talk through any specifics you might have about our program. So am I able to, I'm going to share my screen. Host is disabled screen sharing. Can somebody give me, I can do it without the presentation, but if somebody can give me access, then I can share a few slides as well.
working right now, making it happen. DG, right? You got it. Should pop up any second. You're all ready to go.
All right, thank you. So yes, as mentioned, my name is Derek Gale. I am the Director of Marketing and Business Development for NBH, NeuroBehavioral Hospitals. Can everyone see my screen at this point? Just want to get a
Yes.
thumbs up. Yep,
Looking good.
Excellent. So NeuroBehavioral Hospitals is a new inpatient mental health hospital system coming into Palm Beach County. In fact, we're already here. To kind of set the stage, what we're looking to do, and everything I'll discuss today will stem off of our mission and our vision. But our mission is really to bring life-changing restorative healing to those impacted by psychiatric illness. The way in which we want to do that is by improving the way mental health care is delivered in an inpatient environment. The vision behind that is really to raise the standard of mental health care by breaking down those barriers of accessibility to a high quality care. And we really want to do our programming in such a way where it's tailored to meet each patient wherever they are in that mental health care journey. So in that regard, I'll kind of show you a quick snapshot of our hospital system. So we have NBH North and NBH South, as they're affectionately called right now. NBH North is in West Palm Beach, NBH South is in Boynton Beach. Just to give you some context here, NBH South, which I'll get into momentarily, is really the vision behind what we are trying to do as a new hospital system. And I'll kind of share what I mean when I say that. NBH North and West Palm Beach, quite honestly, came out of need and necessity. So as we were bringing the idea of NBH South into Palm Beach County, we caught wind that St. Mary's was going to close down the IMH, the Institute for Mental Health, that they ran, the behavioral health unit on their campus, which would obviously impact the beds in our county. So, the county would be looking at losing another 40 adult behavioral health beds for Baker Act patients. And so as kind of stewards within this space, we wanted to make sure that that didn't occur because this county is so underbedded right now. Based on our research, over 600 beds underbedded in terms of need for adult behavioral health care. So as kind of good stewards, we came in, we decided to take on that space from St. Mary's on 45th Street, as you mentioned. And we are now operating NeuroBehavioral Hospitals North in that location. We are not connected to St. Mary's, to be very clear. We have leased that building. We've refreshed the building. Quite honestly, it needed some love. So we've refreshed the building and are now operating a 42 bed. So we've increased it, actually, the capacity by 2 beds as well. So a 42 bed Baker Act receiving facility here in West Palm Beach. But NBH South is really what I wanted to kind of speak with the group about today. NBH North, again, it is a fantastic facility, and I'd encourage any of you or welcome any of you to come tour it for a Baker Act receiving facility. But NBH South is really what the vision of our company is moving forward. NBH South is going to be the county's first fully voluntary inpatient mental health hospital. So I'll repeat that, fully voluntary inpatient mental health hospital, which means there will not be Baker Act patients in that building. Baker Act receiving facilities now, they might have some mix of Baker Act patients that some may have converted to a voluntary status. But NBH South will be the county's first fully voluntary inpatient facility in terms of a mental health hospital. We're really excited to do that for a couple reasons. And that's scheduled to open, as you see by this screen here, right around August 18th for that Boynton Beach location. The reason we're doing this is kind of twofold. One, we saw a major gap in the marketplace. So right now, if you go and you are a patient that is in need of help, I'm getting some notifications for admits, by the way, Ed. I'm not sure if you're doing that, but so right now, as a patient, you may go into an ER environment and say, hey, I have bipolar disease, or I'm very depressed. I'm not sure I want to continue on. And whether you like it or not, they're going to probably pull the lever to Baker Act you, right? Which is obviously, as you all know, a 72-hour minimum hold for assessment, evaluation, and stabilization. However, that person in the example that I've provided, in our purview, sounds like they're looking for help, like they're voluntary, like they want some sort of inpatient care. So now, by opening NBH South in Boynton Beach, we're going to be able to kind of treat those patients and reduce the amount of patients that need to specifically be Baker acted. Because if you're looking for help, you don't need to go pull the lever of the Baker Act. You can now come directly into our facility and get that inpatient care for your mental health disease that you might be looking for, right? So that's kind of one edge of the coin. The other edge of the coin is kind of that continued care. So say you do go into that Baker Act receiving facility, you get that stabilization for your acute, acute psychosis over a 3 to maybe 5 day period. Unfortunately, most of these Baker Act receiving facilities are getting patients out within that 3 day window that the Baker Act allows you for. But that is really a stabilization period as it's meant to be for the Baker Act. I understand that. But what we want to do is it's not really treatment, it's stabilization. And so NBH South anticipates having an average length of stay anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. And this will serve to fill that void in the marketplace, between those 3 to 5 day acute stabilization Baker Act receiving facilities like we have in West Palm, and then, outpatient or residential programs, which, folks may or may not show up to that outpatient treatment. Residential may be a little cost prohibitive or too long-term for them. So this NBH South location is going to play in that middle ground between kind of the acute stabilization period and the longer-term outpatient or residential treatment programs. And the reason we're doing this is because we want to get people on the right path for care, the right treatment plan, the right, continued care for their med management, continued therapy sessions. We want them, before they get into an outpatient environment or a residential program or any of these things, to really be in a much better place than quite often that they are when they leave after 3 to 4 days of stabilization. So that's kind of one side of what we're doing, right? It's filling that gap that currently exists in the marketplace. The second thing that we're trying to accomplish, as I said in our vision, is to raise the standard of how mental health care is delivered. So you'll see here a picture of our Boynton Beach location. Some of you may be familiar with this. This was the old Watershed Addiction Treatment Center, located off of Park Ridge Boulevard, which is on the corner of Gateway. So we purchased the Watershed some 2 years ago, maybe a little less. We have put about $12 million into renovating this space. What we want to create here is a world-class mental health hospital for inpatient care that amplifies the patient experience through environment of care, that enables us to deal with medical comorbidities that may exist, right? So we will have internal medicine staffed on site at our hospitals, and we actually have that at our Baker Act receiving facilities as well. The reason we're doing that is because we saw a barrier to care would be that somebody comes in and maybe they need continuous O2 or a feeding tube, or they have COVID, right? They suffer from some sort of airborne pathogen. Well, right now, if they're in a behavioral health unit and they have those medical comorbidities, more often than not, they're moved to a medical floor to treat those medical issues and taken off of the behavioral health unit that they're there, that is the primary reason they're there to begin with. So we're gonna have internal medicine on staff so that we don't have to send out any kind of some of those underlying medical issues to an outside facility. We can treat it on site and continue their psychiatric care, which is important. Our programming is gonna be extremely robust. So, some psych facilities now are kind of adhering to that 3 to 4 hours of programming a day, which, from our perspective isn't enough in a day, right? We don't want patients taking a pill and sitting around playing cards or watching television. So 7A to 7P, we're gonna be doing meaningful therapeutic activity for our patients throughout every day. That activity ranges from anything from, the group therapy that you may be used to, recreational therapy. There's going to be med education so that they understand what they're taking, why they're taking it, what the importance is of those medicines. There's going to be food and nutrition education because our medical director believes that gut health leads to brain health. So we want to educate them on the importance of nutrition and food. And then, one of the other things that each patient is going to get every day in that 12 hours is one-on-one psychotherapy. So what I mean here is that we have, at our own cost, hired psychologists that are in our hospitals every day meeting with every patient that wants to, getting individual psychotherapy. So if Derek is suffering from an issue, I can sit down with a psychologist each day of my stay with MBH and have a one-on-one therapy session to address specifically my needs and what I'm going through and what I'm seeing. You know, we have, and we do that through robust staffing as well. So because we are only behavioral health, right? We are not connected to a larger medical group. We are only behavioral health. Mental health is what we do. It's our bread and butter. You know, we have everyone on staff internally. So we have 4 psychiatrists, we have psychologists, we have nurses, we have mental health techs, we have social workers, peer support specialists, you know, MHTs. So all of these people will be able to kind of run that 12 hours of programming that I mentioned. Those staffing provisions also include a much greater ratio when it comes to nurse to patient. So a lot of units right now may be running a 1-to-10, 1-to-12 nurse to patient ratio. We're aiming for anywhere from a 1-to-6 to 1-to-7 nurse to patient ratio. And the reason for that is so that our nurses aren't running around, you know, overwhelmed and having to do all this paperwork and check on all these different patients. Their caseloads are much lower so that they're able to engage meaningfully in their patient's mental health journey, each and every patient's mental health journey. And then I said treatment team approach here. And what I mean by that is all those people that I mentioned are going to sit down as a committee and talk with each patient each day. So that the doctor that is overseeing that patient's case, the nurse that's overseeing that patient's case, the social worker, they're going to sit down with our patients throughout their stay with us and work towards those goals that we set forth from day one, right? So that the patients, quite honestly, are more bought in, right? They feel more bought in because they're a part of the process. They understand where they're at in that process, and they're meeting with those clinicians on a daily basis to be able to discuss progress and where they're, you know, what the next steps are upon discharge. So these are just a few things that I wanted to mention about how we're trying to, again, kind of raise the standard of how mental health care is delivered in this county. Looking forward, a couple things to take note of. We are working right now with the managing entity on building out and developing a crisis intervention center. Essentially what this will be is a 24/7, essentially psych ER, where people can come into our assessment center on site and determine, and we can determine because we will have psychiatry staff 24/7 there, like a psychiatrist will be on staff 24/7 at the center. Determine what the best next step for, you know, whomever comes through our doors is, whether that be, oh yes, a Baker Act is appropriate for this patient, whether that be, you know what, you just need a good night's sleep, whether that be, hey, you might be more appropriate for a voluntary facility, hey, you might be more appropriate for outpatient care, whatever that case may be. We're going to have a center that allows people to come in 24/7 and get that assessment so that, again, we start reducing the amount of times that we have to pull that Baker Act lever. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do, quite honestly, is trying to break down that cycle of folks going into a Baker Act receiving facility, getting stabilized, moving out the door, and then we see them 2 weeks later. What we really want to do is create this continuum of care where they're truly getting the help that they need from start to finish, or wherever they are on that spectrum, whether that is the extreme of needing to be Baker Acted, right? Or if they, you know, they can move on from that Baker Act facility on a voluntary basis. And then from the voluntary facility, they can move on to our outpatient services, which will also be on site. So, you know, in doing that, in looking at that care continuum, there's a potential that we could be in contact or connected with this patient for up to a 4-month time span to really continue their care and get them on the right track prior to moving on. So that's really kind of what the vision is. We are going to scale. So I know, you know, our first 2 locations are here in Palm Beach County, where I know it's greatly needed, but we are going to look at other locations around Florida because there is the need. And again, the vision really is to create this health opportunity, this mental health system opportunity that allows for people to come in on a voluntary basis and get the help that they need before having to pull the lever of that Baker Act, or for those folks that are Baker Acted to continue that care on an inpatient setting in our voluntary hospitals. So that's really kind of the meat and potatoes, Ed. Here is some contact information as well as our website. I put the referral hotline on here, right? So that line is monitored. If there's any, patients that you might have or folks that you may know need a resource, my name, email address, as well as personal cell phone number are on this screen as well. And I know Ed's recording this, so I'm sure he'll send out this link. But again, we just wanted to educate everyone on this call about the resource that we've brought into market, and that's the kind of the bigger picture of what's coming in about a month. And I'll leave it there for to start getting into some questions, Ed, if that's fair.
Great, Derek. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. Very comprehensive. And the chat was alive, and there's several questions that came in. And again, feel free to put your questions into the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and say, Derek, we have someone, her name is Nancy Gao, and she's with the League of Women Voters. Nancy, please speak up, ask your question.
My question is, do these facilities accept health insurance?
Oh, Nancy, I can't believe I forgot to say this, because this is one of my big talking points and I missed it. We will accept all major insurances, including Medicare and Medicaid.
Great.
And then beyond that, Nancy, we are also working with the managing entity as well as the Palm Beach County Healthcare District. We've established partnerships to fund indigent care in our facilities as well.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for reminding me, quite honestly.
Sure.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you, Nancy. What about Dr. Kim Joseph? You have a question? Introduce yourself and speak up to Derek.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Kim Joseph with the Department of Support Services, the School District of Palm Beach County, and I believe my coworker, Ms. Azaria Cardona, have the same question. Will you be treating adolescents or teenagers? Will you have any kind of pediatric care?
So so I get this question every time I've presented, and I've done a few of these, as you might guess. Currently, we are 18 plus. Legally, we cannot treat adolescents in the same structural building as we're treating adults. However, we understand the huge need in the adolescent programming, and that it currently doesn't exist. So we are actively looking at real estate as we speak to open one of these specifically for adolescents. So it is on our roadmap, but not something that'll happen in 2022.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Derek. And Kim, Dr. Kim, for the question. And do you have a list somewhere that you'll be able to share with us of the insurances that might be accepted in network, out of network, and how might someone, I see there were a couple questions, follow-ups in there about that.
Yep. So we are, as you can imagine, we are working through all of those contracts as we speak with those insurance providers. Our goal will be to be completely in network with all major insurances. We do have our Medicare number at this point already. So we are working through all of that. However, what I can tell you is that even for right now, until we work through all of those contracts, and I'm being very candid with everyone on this phone, but until we work through all of those contracts, if a patient comes in, has an insurance and is out of network, whatever their out of network insurance will compensate us for is what we will accept. And then if there's anything left for the patient, they are not being sent to bill currently. So until we have all those relationships established as in network, and we are plowing through them one provider at a time, patients are not getting billed the delta between what out of network would cover and what the patient would owe. And we are actively doing single case agreements with these providers for each of the patients that we've seen. So our West Palm location is already up and operating, right? Our ADC is around 35 of our 42 beds. So we're actively kind of working against all of this, but just to be clear, until we've gone in network with all of these providers, our mission is not to send any patients a bill.
Very good, Derek. Derek, thank you for that complete answer there. And I see a hand. It says Michael. This might just be Dr. Michael Kane from the school district. Am I correct? Michael, go ahead.
It's Michael Seigler.
Okay, Michael Seigler, you got your hand up.
Other Dr. Mike. Yeah, so thank you very much. One, I was unaware that you're allowed to do that, to write off any co-insurances and whatnot. Obviously, I don't know how you got that agreement. And also, just when you said that the team meets daily, does that include, and does the patient meet with the psychiatrist daily, and for how long? Because I've always been concerned that after very quick evaluation and then very powerful drugs, are being administered. That's about it. I can always follow up and email you.
No, so yes, they do meet daily with the psychiatrist. And then they also have the opportunity, as I mentioned, to meet daily with our psychologist for that therapy session. So the psychiatry engagement is through that treatment team that I mentioned, and also some kind of one-on-one checkpoints, which does happen on a daily basis. And then the psychology is really for that therapy session. And those therapy sessions tend to last about 30 minutes per patient per day. And again, the patient, isn't forced to do that one-on-one psychotherapy, but they're obviously encouraged to. So yes, both of those things occur every day, Michael. And for approximately 30 minutes.
And how do you get away with not collecting like the 20% co-insurance for Medicare, for instance?
Quite honestly,
that
is not a question I can answer right now. I'd have to talk with our
it's great
department.
It's one,
but
All right.
It's great that
All
you're
right.
able
Thank
to.
you, Derek and Michael.
thank you.
Excellent. All right. I see our next hand went up is from Dr. Abby Strauss. Please go ahead.
Very interesting questions as far as the 20% non-collectible. This is an ongoing issue in the state of Florida and with most insurance companies, known as balance billing. And whether we just write it off or whether we at least have to send a bill to the patient and then we write it off. There's a lot of technicality in here. Your legal and accounting people will have to decide what's the latest approach to doing that. A couple questions in that the old notion is that the first part's always the easy part, stabilizing. It's the hard part is what happens afterwards. That's like Alcoholics Anonymous. It's easy to detox somebody. It's hard to give them the rest of the experience. Did you say that you're going to try to maintain people for several months after the initial destabilization? Could you expand that a little bit more? Because that's where the meat and potatoes are in treating people.
Yep. So great question, Dr. Strauss. So what I meant is there's going to be an opportunity through our network to be able to have a several month touch point, but breaking that down simply is the Baker Act receiving facility. If they come through that means that's right, a 3 to 5 day kind of stabilization period. Our voluntary inpatient facility, we anticipate an average length of stay between 2 and 3 weeks. Right. So if you add those things together, that's about a month. And then through our IOP or PHP and IOP programming, which we'll also have on campus, those are each 6-week programs. Right. So adding all of those things up, there's the potential for that long of a kind of touch point with our patients. However, specific to this conversation, what we're really excited about is kind of that middle ground that we're going to play between acute stabilization, as you mentioned, and then some of those outpatient opportunities upon discharge by creating this voluntary unit that's, going to have an average length of stay somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks.
Will you be doing ECT, TMS, ketamine, those types of things?
Yes, we will. Yes.
Okay.
All. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you see yourself ever becoming where residents, psychiatric residents, psychology residents and such can come and train in your facility? Because that often brings a certain energy to a clinical organization, which is very, very good. Is that on the table or not at all yet?
It is certainly on the table and already actively working. So we have, So we have, And not just on the doctors, on the provider side, but also on the nursing side too. So we're partnering up with a few universities to be able to have some of those residents do rounds in our hospitals. We're also, we kicked off actually this past weekend some nursing students in our hospitals that are going to be working on it, for the next 12 weekends with us. So yes, Dr. Strauss, it's a great point, and one that we are very passionate about doing.
I want to throw one more thing in, then I will stop babbling, as they say. One of the major problems that we have had in this community, and probably pretty much nationwide, between the psychiatric facilities and the doctors outside, or let's just say all the providers, is the notion of silos. You're in your silo, I'm in my silo, and we don't talk. And errors are made that way, significant errors. And my hats off to you guys for the patient that I had go through there, because I spoke to a lot of your staff and it helped. They could have never gotten the information that I had from treating the patient for years, and vice versa. One of the, and I say this as a bit of advice from someone who's just been doing it since 1985 down here, is don't cut us off. Don't forget to give us detailed discharge summaries. Don't give us when you do discharges, just don't have a social worker make the discharge plans, and all of a sudden we get a note and then we get a one-page summary with the medications on there and no clinical narrative. Because if you fall into that silo, your excellent program, sounds awesome, is going to become just another one.
Yeah.
And I hope that doesn't happen, because we need you, and frankly, you need us.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
don't
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I'm glad you had that experience, because we are going to pride ourselves, and I hate to put it this way, but on customer service. And that also includes kind of the open lines of communication with those people that have already been working with our patients. Our doctors are very good about doing those doctor to doctors. In fact, we have a patient in here right now whose family is very concerned. It's her first mental break, without getting into too many specifics, but our doctor at 7:45 each morning has been calling her family psychiatrist just to give updates, right? Just as a human touch, to give updates. Here's the progress, here's what we're doing, here's what we're thinking for discharge, etc. So we will pride ourselves on that customer experience. And customer is not just the patients in our doors, but also the stakeholders that we interact with in the community.
Good. I'll keep you to it.
I hope you do, Dr. Strauss. I know you will, actually. I get the feeling.
Thank you,
Ed?
Derek. Abby as well. Powerful dialogue, and we still got some good time and some great conversation. Weston, I see you're with Be Well, Palm Beach County, one of our partners and collaborators of the Alliance. Say hello, and what's your question for Derek?
Hi, yeah, I'm Weston with Be Well, Palm Beach County. I just joined as support and policy manager. And I had one question for you, Derek. You mentioned psychiatrists, and I just wanted to confirm, is that board certified allopathic, osteopathic physicians, or are you including mid-levels when you say psychiatrist?
Board certified, but we also, Weston, have mid-levels as well. So we have the 4 board certified, plus we have 4 mid-levels as well. Yep.
So with your 24-hour coverage, will that always be a physician?
Yes. Yeah, exactly right. Yep.
Okay. So the mid-levels will just be in a supporting role.
In a supporting role. Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, each of the mid-levels works with one of the doctors, just to be clear.
Okay.
And if I can put 2 cents in here just for the purpose of transparency, more and more psychiatrists are not getting board certified. And the reason, or they're letting them lapse. And if you're going to want to know the nitty-gritty, dirty side of mental health, is that the certifying agency for psychiatry charges many thousands of dollars, and it's just taking a test. There is no correlation between clinical skills and becoming certified. Zero correlation. So literally thousands of psychiatrists are letting their board certifications expire. They don't want to spend the money. And because it's silliness. Now, some insurance companies insist on it, hospitals insist on it. It looks good on paper, but it's not necessarily equal to anything related to quality. One of our biggest arguments right now is the president of the certifying agency for psychiatry and neurology. It's the same group. His salary is announced at roughly $800,000 a year. And we think that's absurd. So I recognize that the insurance companies may want board certification, but let's not think that that gives more quality than it does. It maybe once upon a time it used to. It doesn't anymore. And that's just a hard reality of what it's like on my side of the desk. So for everybody's information. Okay.
All right, Abby, great. Derek, you got something left in you? We got a little more time for sure. And
I'm here for y'all. Let me know who's got questions.
all right, well, very good. I see we definitely want you to share your contact info, maybe in the chat. I see someone was asking for maybe if you have a hotline number, that you guys have a hotline number. I know that in Palm Beach County, we've got 211, and I'm sure your information is affiliated with them and you're a listed resource. And for just about everybody here, it's not news that 988 is out there now. And thanks to the attendance of Patrice Schroeder, she has clarified for all of us that 211 and the people here are still the ones answering the phone for the National Lifeline as well as 988. So I do hope to see, though, more of what you've got, Derek. And one of our other questions in there was, are there other community presentations, outreach that your hospitals are doing, other opportunities for us to share with the communities that we serve so that they can find out more in informational sessions?
And Ed, if I could just put one comment into people's heads. I impeach everybody, please, to be very aware of mental health parity, because the insurance companies, there is a differentiation between what is paid a mental health provider and a general medical provider. And technically it is illegal, but the state of Florida still has not adopted parity. We're one of the few states that has not. And we need to make sure it's equal, because what has happened is that, and the number is now 48% of all mental health providers in the United States have dropped out of Medicare. They can't survive on what Medicare is paying and what Medicaid pays. That's why you won't find anybody hardly who is a Medicaid psychiatric provider. Can't pay your electric bill at the end of the month. And so what you guys are doing with the hospital is fabulous. I love it. I just endorse you 100%. But let's not forget that when people leave that facility, they have to go somewhere. Yeah. And 48% of us, every day I hear about more of my psychiatric friends dropping out of Medicare. I certainly could understand, and I would strongly consider it. Because we can't live under that noose. And that's the reality. If we were a regular business, we could increase our prices to match our costs. And that's a deep frustration in the community. And thank God all these people are here from the community. Enough said. You heard what I said. Think parity, mental health parity. Make it real. Vote for it. Ask your politicians so we aren't 48th in the United States, 49th in the United States in state-involved support of mental health services. Let's pick ourselves up to where we can go. Okay, enough from me.
All right, Derek, I think you hit that one over into your court, and I just want to mention that Abby Ross responded in the chat, and you said the big word vote. And, she's here representing her office. Abby, do you have anything you'd like to say to some of that?
Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Dr. Strauss and Derek. Just listening in the background here, Senator Berman, I feel like I've worked with her for a long time, and I feel like she's voted in favor of legislation, but I don't want to say for sure because I'm not, I'm going off the top of my head, but I feel as though my memory serves me that there has been legislation in this realm at the state level. So Dr. Strauss, maybe we can talk and reconnect about that, Reader and anyone else. I do think that Senator Berman would, of course, support that. I feel like she may have voted in favor of that. I don't remember what the reasons are, if it didn't make it to the finish line and actually become legislation in Florida, but certainly something that we should and need to continue discussing. Perhaps she could sponsor a bill next session. We could talk about maybe, who other political partners in this fight could be. So happy to kind of continue that discussion out of this space.
Absolutely. Again, let's just remember that when they get out of, Derek, your good operation, they have to have a place to go. And Blue Cross Blue Shield has reduced their reimbursement. They just increased it, such to the point that there was almost no psychologist that would accept the Blue Cross Blue Shield patient. They couldn't afford it. It was so low. So now they've just upped their reimbursement rates. And now when they finish your good program, they got a place to go. We'll see how long that lasts. So,
All right, thank you.
we need to,
Abby.
yeah,
Both
go ahead.
Abby's
Sorry.
there. Thank you both. I do want to recognize a hand that's been up and patiently waiting. Ms. Bailey, please, you may have some lived experience that you'd like to share. Take a moment.
First of all, hi, Abby.
Hello.
Abby and I have been working together on other stuff. I'm an insurance broker, okay? So if anybody wants to take my information, I know the laws and everything. And I understand what Abby Strauss was saying. I'm also a parent of two children, two young men that have been through the system, through different facilities. And what you're offering is sounds way too good to be true. And I want to see that it be successful, because I've had kids go into facilities for 30 days. They throw you out, they dope you up, throw you out with nowhere to go. Again, I've had PHP, IOP, all from trauma, unfortunately. I'm assuming you're going to be having trauma experts in your psych or your group therapy, because trauma is a lifelong healing journey. And when children go through this, they turn, and you get them the help that they need, they then, like you said, they go out and then they can't find a psychiatrist, or they can't find the right place to go. And they've been on all these crazy psych meds, and you can't live outside on all those crazy psych meds. You just can't. You're doped up. And then you have nobody to, and then again, like Abby Strauss was saying, the other issue is getting the records. Let's say you do find a new therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever, they don't know what your history. So they just either continue putting on these crazy meds and, or they change it's like a never ending process. I've been going through this now with one kid for 2 years with really bad anxiety, like horrific anxiety, and in and out of facilities, every treatment, the TMS, everything. I've tried everything for this kid. And right now he's functioning and he's working, but constantly calling me from New York, with his stuff. But he came out of a treatment, IOP, PHP, IOP, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in the same place. And then they just got rid of him. They didn't know what to do with him. They literally said, we don't know. They just discharged him, and they sent him to a different IOP place that was not for him. And then they just didn't even want to talk to me anymore. It was horrible. So it sounds, I wish a year ago you guys were in existence, or I knew about you, because like I said, it sounds too good to be true. And then again, the insurance situation, I had to get the most expensive United plan with the out of network, very low, because I couldn't afford it. I'm a single mom. And so, our children are our future. And if we don't help them with, I'm a mother, very involved. I want to see my kids get better, live healthy, productive lives. And which is why I'm constantly fighting for children that come from traumatic situations or are in traumatic situations to get help, because I know what happens to adults that never got the proper help. So,
All right.
if
All
you
right.
ever want to know the things that not to do or that need to be done, been there, done that with 2 kids over the last 4 years. So
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And Derek, I don't know, there were a good number of important life lessons, statements in there, lived experience. Is there anything you want to respond to in there, Derek?
No, I would say thank you for being open to share that with us, Bailey. And certainly I can understand skepticism because we've heard from a few people, oh, I hope you deliver on this, because unfortunately, I think the system hasn't been what it should be for some time now in this county or in this state. We intend to deliver on what we're saying here, because that is the mission of, that's why we're doing this, is to try to, impact this county in a very positive way, different from how it's been in the past. So thank you again for sharing. Completely understand the skepticism, and hopefully we will exemplify how we're going to really kind of raise the bar here.
Good. Thank you, Derek. Very good. A couple people in the chat have talked about that key word that's part of treatment, that word family. And Marilyn Ricci, families are an important part of recovery. How are you including them? As well as I see that Marcia Martino from NAMI is here with us, also bringing up that F word, family. Marcia, would you like to speak for a moment and address that question with Derek?
Hi, Marcia.
Hi, how are you?
Doing
I
well.
did just want to also say about parity. I did an attachment for a parity trifold. A lot of people don't realize when their parity is being violated. So there's some examples in there. There was parity legislation, not this past session, but the previous one, when they were trying to gather information about parity to show that there's not parity in our state. The insurance companies said, we're not getting anyone complaining. There's no one saying, complaining to us. So that session, they passed that insurance companies needed to let people know that they had like a number to call to report parity violations. And then that needs to be reported back to the legislature this session coming up. Unfortunately, again, if people don't understand that there are parity violations, they don't know to report it. So the brochure could be helpful. We have some printed out. If people want to have any to hand out, you can call NAMI and we'll mail them to you. But people need to understand what a parity violation is. Florida Mental Health Advocacy Coalition it's one of our primary issues for there. And so the flmhac.org, you can look on the Advocacy Coalition website, sign up for alerts, and there will be legislation that will be introduced at some point. But right now, the legislature is saying, bring me some information, show me that there are parity violations going on. And they don't have that information right now. So print out the trifold. And if you want more, certainly feel free to call our office. We'll mail them to you. Call the NAMI, Palm Beach County office. So then in regard to family, we are the long-term support for our loved ones. There's short-term, crisis support. There's some longer term. We're with our family members for the rest of our lives. And in our support group, that comes up over and over and over again. Families really need to have information and know what's going on. Many times our family members won't sign off for us to get information because
they have their own sort of family issues. So I guess one question that I was asking is, are there any mechanisms? Is there some way that you're looking to educate or support or involve family members?
Yes, great question, and we are. So I'll kind of answer it in a couple parts here. So as you mentioned, there is a form, because all of our patients are adults, right, 18 plus. They do have to consent to give medical information to anyone, really, if they are, if they're able to. If they are not able to, we can move to have the courts create family members as proxies or guardians, right? And we can do that. We can pull that lever on our, internally to try to make that happen if we don't feel like they are in the state of mind to be able to give that consent. But we do include family members as much as possible, Marcia. So here in West Palm, obviously it's a bit different, right? Because I would say about 85 to 88% of our patients are Baker Act, so involuntary, right? Whereas there's just a small percentage of voluntary. In West Palm, as I gave you an example earlier about a patient whose father is heavily involved in all of this, whose parents are heavily involved, and our psychiatrists are kind of keeping in constant contact with them. They're actually bringing the family members in as they uncover stuff through the therapy sessions I mentioned, through that engagement with the psychiatrist, psychologist, as they're figuring out stuff with these patients. They're bringing the family members into the hospital, not onto the unit, but into the hospital, to be able to engage them about some of those things that have surfaced in treatment, right? So the example I gave, again, not giving away too much information, but there was concerns about firearms in the house. There was concerns about relationships with in-laws. There's all these things that have been brought to light that we are highly engaged with the family on making sure that they're aware of, so that the patient has the best experience and the family's armed with the most knowledge when that patient is discharged. So that's north, right? At our south location, we will take a similar approach in terms of that daily engagement when we're able to. But we do also plan, as a part of programming, to be able to bring families in to the environment, not onto the unit, but into the environment, whether that be the visitor lounge, something with our psychologists, our psychiatrists, to do some of those family kind of care sessions, if you will, where we have identified things that are important to surface to the loved ones of the patients that we serve. And they've identified the willingness to go down the path of having that engagement. We do plan on having that as a part of our programming, actually. So we're excited. We are excited about that. But again, our hands are tied in certain regards, right? There's always got to be that willingness to share information and the competence to do it. So I'll leave it at that. But great question. And yes, it's going to be core to our patient journey when applicable.
Excellent. Thank you, Derek. And
I saw a question about, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
go ahead.
I saw a question about how is MBH working with police departments?
Yeah, I was just looking for Sheila. Sheila Jaffe, are you still here with us? From now?
I'm with her. I work with her. So you can answer that question. I'll get her the answer.
Yeah, she was here before. Go ahead. Let us know. How are
Sure.
you connected there?
Yeah, so a large part of my role is to build all of these community stakeholder relationships. We do have relationships with most of the city's police departments as well as PBSO. For instance, PBSO came in with their crisis intervention team to our facility today to tour, as did West Palm Beach EMS. So I have started going through the county and connecting with each of those stakeholders to allow them to understand what our resources are. We'll see kind of what the net of that is, but certainly they were excited, I guess, selfishly on their end to be able to come directly into our hospitals as opposed to going onto an ER, because we can do the medical clearance on site. So they don't have to go sit in a hospital ER and wait around. So that's good for them, right? Because they want to get back on the streets as quickly as possible. So they see that as a huge benefit. And the other thing is, they were excited about the fact that and I hope that they really are excited, and I hope that this re-education kind of occurs, but they were excited about the fact of not necessarily having to pull the lever, as I mentioned, of the Baker Act, right? Where they find those people that are looking for help, because we will have that kind of voluntary environment for those folks. So they seem to be gravitating towards that. So yes, long story short, we have been plotting our way through the county, building all of those relationships with all those stakeholders, fire, EMS, police chiefs, sheriff's office. I've met with several mayors of the county, et cetera.
Is the PBSO's crisis intervention team fairly new? Because I dealt with them for years, on and off, Baker Acts and all kinds of stuff. And
I'm not sure I have the answer to that, Bailey. I'm not sure how new they are.
It's a voluntary training. They've been doing it for, I would say, about 10 years, maybe. But it's voluntary. It's set up to be voluntary.
Because I've never
It's a
had
40-hour training that law enforcement, also dispatch can go through that, and also corrections.
But when they come to a home for a Baker Act, they don't come with anybody other than the cops.
We suggest to people, if they're calling the police, if you're calling 911, to ask for a CIT trained officer. They can't always do that if they're not the closest to the location, but they try to do it when they can.
Right, and it seems as if the goal of 211 and especially 988 on a national level is to have crisis intervention teams as part of the phone number. It's not just a number, but it's an encouragement to bolster all links in the chain. From what we're talking about being presented here by Derek to what we have people from the school district are here. We have people from other treatment facilities here and private practitioners. And together these links are the support. So
our hope is that people will be able to call 988 and not have law enforcement come and deal with the situation, but it would be a crisis, a team that would come out that I don't know if they already do, but the intention is that they will include a licensed clinician in that as well. And calling 988 would not automatically send someone out. I know Patrice can speak to this. There will be trained people to take those calls, with the idea that a pretty high percentage will be able to be diffused on the phone, that someone wouldn't have to go out. But if someone does have to go out, there could be the option of mobile response going out, not necessarily law enforcement. And that will reduce the trauma for people. The involving law enforcement at best is very traumatizing for people.
Our staff, we meet the criterion standards set forth by the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So we're highly trained. We're already doing this. We're just moving to that 988 number. But the point being that our staff are there to de-escalate and try to stabilize. We're not just sending people to 911. We're highly trained. We're there to assess their needs. And if it sounds like it's an imminent situation, I mean, we've had situations where somebody took 30 pills, that's obviously going to be a 911 emergency rescue call. So, but for the most part, we can, once we get somebody stabilized, I mean, it could be a situational thing that they're desperate. They don't have a job. Something may be happening that we could bring a resource to. We do follow-up calls with that individual to make sure they're okay. We offer them to have a mobile crisis come to them. And then of course we do try to get, crisis intervention trained officers to someone if needed. But again, like she was mentioning, sometimes whoever's on duty, wherever they're located. So and to Ed's point, this is a part of the national conversation that, we launched 988, but there's that deeper conversation of, are all the moving parts in place? And some areas that are very rural may not have, they may have the barest of clinicians available. So how do we work as a community to fill the gaps, which I think that's what you're speaking to that already in this presentation, but how can we make it better and how can we work more collaboratively is the key point. So it's not just, this is a 988 number, but this is all the parts that go with it to make a robust, very healthy system of care for our community.
Here, here.
And kudos to you, Patrice, because Sharon informed myself and Bo of the volume that you guys are going to see an increase in by also handling 988. So kudos to you and your team for that. I just wanted to mention, you did ask me to put my contact information in the chat. I did do that. So I put my email there. I also put the referral hotline. I just wanted to mention that as people may be dropping off the call, but it is there. And maybe you'll be able to kind of screen capture that.
Definitely, yes. And I know Gerda Klein is an amazing consolidator of information, and we will be bringing together some highlights along with that contact information, potentially a link to this video so that you can continue to share the good news of what we've heard and continue to work together to build that chain of services that we all care about so much. Again, I see some people here with us today. If we've got a few minutes left, if anyone has any questions for Derek. All right. I don't want to just start to call on people like former Mayor Reverend Woodrow Hay, who's here and has such a wonderful connection to our community, and to Boynton Beach, former Mayor Reverend Hay. Say hello, please, to Derek.
Hello, we've met in person. So like I said, I've been working my way through the community, and me and Mr. Hay we've connected. But hey, how are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic. Yeah, Derek, you and I have met a couple of times in meetings. And I believe this is the third time, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm excited about what I hear. And I'm glad to hear so many of you professional people who know what you're talking about asking all of these great questions. But certainly, I thought it was too good to be true when I heard it, but what do I know? So I'm looking forward to working with you guys from the commission standpoint, as former mayor of Boynton and currently a commissioner at Boynton. As to your opening, I plan to be out there to assist you, and I like to have Gerda is a good friend of mine, so I'm sure she has all the names and numbers that I'll be able to contact some of you guys with some of the issues that I know of some people in the community. You've answered most of them as far as cost is concerned. That's the big challenge in my particular area and the people that I know, and you've answered that. So I'm glad to be here. And Ed, you're doing a great job as always. And Rita, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you.
So I would add to Mr. Hayes' remarks. So we are going to have a grand opening event where we're going to have, our leadership speak. We're going to be giving tours. We aim to do that towards the end of August. I would more than welcome anyone in this conversation to come to that event, just to kind of, I guess, put some visualization behind what we're telling you, to be able to tour the facility, to be able to hear from our leadership team about what we're bringing to market. So again, you have my contact information. Please don't hesitate to shoot me an email directly so that we can stay connected, as I anticipate we will. And the other thing I would ask is if there was anyone that was not on this call within your networks that would benefit from hearing about what we're bringing to market, please also reach out and let me know. And I'm happy to share this information, give this presentation as many times as needed. So I did want to at least end with that, Ed.
Good. Well, before you go, I know we have Cindy Weitz, who has a question or comment representing the Palm Beach County Mental Health First Aid Coalition. Cindy, say hi to the group. And
hi everybody. Hi Derek, it's so nice to meet you, and it's so
Cindy.
wonderful to see all of you. Boy,
Thanks,
it
Cindy.
just warms my heart. Derek, I will get your information out to all of the instructors for mental health first aid, because we all provide resource pages after every training, and this will be a nice addition to that resource page as well. So just wanted to say and plus we're neighbors. I work out of the Alpert Jewish Family Service right down the street from you.
Yeah.
On 45th Street. So we will be getting in contact with you for the agency as well. But just want to let you know, I will pass all this information to all of the instructors.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Cindy.
you so much.
Yeah, and feel free to come down and visit. I'd love to
We will.
connect in person. So, yep.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, thank you, Cindy, and keep up the great work. You know, Palm Beach County is so fortunate to have a coordinated mental health first aid effort. It's an international program, but here in Palm Beach County, Cindy and Alpert Jewish Family Services and the coalition with the school district and independents like myself, we're really making an important frontline movement, you know, first responders for mental health issues to try to de-escalate and connect to the resources like what Derek's got going on. So thank you, Cindy, for all you do. And Derek, hang around. I see another question. Andrea Gervitz is with us. She's with Boca Promise, and she's an advocate and some lived experience. Andrea, please, thanks for joining us. And they have a question or comment for Derek?
Yeah, Derek, well, I applaud you for reaching this audience of 18 and up. I assume you're treating severe schizophrenia patients. My own experience with that of my late son, James, was twofold. One is that we didn't have the money to even put him on. He was on Medicaid for disability, and he couldn't work. And he suffered from 19 to 24 until he overdosed. But the point is, are you taking Medicaid? I know we're all talked about Medicare.
No, Medicaid as well. Yep, Medicaid and Medicare. Yep.
Yeah, well, that was, there was really no place for young adults to go. So thank you.
Yeah, no, we look forward to servicing, we are going to be in the business of finding people the help that they need, quite honestly, regardless of payer, but we will have all of those payers in place as well. So as well as indigent care. So we're looking forward to servicing the community, quite honestly. And yes, we do deal with schizophrenia, I believe, if I didn't answer that. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Let's see. I see Gerda Klein with an old-fashioned hand raise. Gerda, go ahead. Just unmute, Gerda, if you can hear, just unmute. And I think what we're going to do, while we're waiting for Gerda, I see Rita is also with the old-fashioned hand raise. So Gerda, are you up and ready?
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, Gerda, and then we'll come back to Rita to bring things to a close.
I just want to remind everybody that this session is recorded. And so if you wish to have the recording sent to you so that you can also show it, I'm sure Derek would be happy to help get the information out that way as well, unless you have any concerns about that and any reservations about that. But we thought it would be a handy way for people to actually see this in action. So let us know if you would like to, when we get the recording available for sending, let me know if you wish to have it. And I just want you to be aware of that.
Right. Thank you, Gerda.
Yes, I'd be happy if you distributed that, Gerda. Thank you so much.
Good. All right, Derek, thank you so much. And thank you everyone that's here. And I want to bring us back full circle to Rita Thrasher, who is the greatest connector, who's brought us together. Great people hearing important things. Rita, wind things up for us.
I am absolutely so pleased with everyone's questions, with Derek's explanations and answers. And it's kind of been a dream for me to open this door to these great people. Some of you I haven't seen for for 5 years. Some of you are remembered in my prayers because I know you are suffering with illnesses in your family, and my prayers are with you. Thank you all. I am determined to continue opening doors, bringing conversations that are due and welcome to this community in Palm Beach County. I don't know what the next one will be. It may be a follow-up to have Derek back to give another timely report and hear more questions. So watch for it. Opening doors will be out again in August, and it'll probably be ready with some school people who are ready to answer questions. Thank you all for today. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Gerda. Thank you, Abby, and certainly Derek. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone. Goodbye.
All right.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye-bye now.